Sometimes you gotta pop out and show niggas.
Wear your heart on your sleeve. Welcome back, welcome back. This is Bongani Mina, and I am the resident DJ here at Hoy's FM. And we're continuing our political discussion around what's been happening in terms of this very important election in the history of South Africa. And we've analyzed a few of the different perspectives and reacting to what is my personal CNN, SMWX. And the next video that we're going to be looking at is by Ulukona Mnguni, and let's listen in on his perspectives, and then we'll pause, react as we go along. Please pardon the background noise. Like I said, these videos by SMWX were all taken at the ROC Center, the results center at the election headquarters. I think it's somewhere in Gallagher Estate. So just pardon the background noise, but please do listen in line, and I will be pausing and reacting as we go.
The current picture that we have is that there is a massive, do you know when I say massive problem in KwaZulu-Natal? I do not think they foresaw what the MK party could do to their prospect. The ANC is yet to hit 1 million votes at this point in time as I'm talking to you, and which means they are below 50% in terms of the valid votes that have already been cast. But let's come back to the EFF. The momentum of the EFF in 2019 seems to have tapered off in this election. However, I'm saying this cautiously at this point in time because the urban votes in KwaZulu-Natal have not come in yet, and that's where the EFF grew the most in 2019. eThekwini, Richards Bay, Pietermaritzburg, Port Shepstone, Kokstad, Umkambatini, those were the nodes of growth, Eskawini and so on. So we're watching KZN very closely. Who is MK having for breakfast? Who is MK having for lunch? Who is MK having for supper? And who is the dessert for MK? Those are the questions that we are going to be asking. Is MK going to keep the momentum?
So basically at SMWX, there's someone writing this joke. This is the same joke restructured for Jamie and then restructured for Ulukona Mnguni. It's the same setup. MK having different people for the different meals throughout the day, and JMIT using more of a bully on the playground, grabbing everyone's toys, eating everyone's lunch. Same joke, same setup, but the punchline remains MK is doing the damn thing.
But will MK, as the urban centers come in, perform well? That is the big question. So in this election, if there's one disruption that is really potentially going on, what I call a possible political massacre, it is the developments in KwaZulu-Natal. Mathematically, if MK keeps this momentum in KwaZulu-Natal, the ANC cannot get over 50% on the national count. Let's talk about that question a little bit. What does it mean if the ANC gets below 50%? What does it mean for its leader, the president, Cyril Ramaphosa? What will be an acceptable loss of votes for him to stay and remain as president? What will be an unacceptable loss of votes for him to say, I take responsibility for the performance of my party. We did not manage to do well. Yes, we've been trying to do renewal and unity, but it has not paid off in terms of electoral support. Clearly, there are things that we could have done better, and I'm taking responsibility personally, and I resign as the president of the ANC. Is it even possible? I'm not sure.
Please remember, this person already resigned. He resigned a long time ago. And I think one of the indicators of how terribly this person has failed is that former presidents who have chosen not to campaign for the ANC before in previous elections, former presidents who have been like, you know what, ANC, do your thing because you're clearly not heeding the voice of the elders. They had to come out this time because they were not saving Cyril Ramaphosa, they were saving the ANC. They were not saving the person who was leading, they were saving the movement as a whole, the brand as a whole. And, if I might add, these people are all part of the generation that set this country up. These are our founding fathers, so to speak, and the founding fathers are clearly split because what I learned from this election is that Chris Hani would have broken away from the ANC. Chris Hani would have broken away from the ANC because the things that have been happening in the ANC have not been what was envisaged, is not what the ANC was supposed to be. The ANC sold out. And knew they sold out all the way back then, to the point of deciding to allow the killing of Chris Hani, because they knew Chris Hani would not stand to watch them do this. And so Jacob Zuma has had to rise and say, this thing cannot be saved from within. I tried. I tried to show them a new way. I tried to show them that we can challenge capital, that we can create a new system that actually benefits our people. He led to government salaries increasing without protest. He led to annual increases being signed on a multi-year deal, so that there's less instability in the country, less instability in service provision. However, what we've seen, since then is, after Ramaphosa took over, government employee salaries have been frozen. Why does it matter that Jacob Zuma was increasing people's salaries? It matters because it coincided with black people moving out of the township. It coincided with people moving into the white suburbs, because the banks were now able to borrow more and more money to black people. Because if you increase people's salary, their future income potential increases. And if their future income potential increases, that means they can acquire assets today because they will be able to pay for them tomorrow. That was revolutionary. You don't see it now because Ramaphosa is counter-revolutionary. He is stagnating the black income. He is stagnating the black employees' wage bill, because white people do not want us to be free. They do not want us to afford to live in Rosebank. They do not want us to be able to afford to live in Sandton. They do not want us to be able to buy beachfront property. They want Cape Town for themselves. They are okay with you coming there for holiday. You book their Airbnb, make them a passive income, and then you leave and go back to your shitty life. That is how they see it. That is how they see it. And that's why I love to compare everything that's happening in this election, everything that's happening in South Africa right now, to the rap beef between Drake and Kendrick. Because Drake can say, whip and chain you like American slaves. Drake can say, you're rapping like you're trying to get the slaves free. And he thinks whip and chain them like American slaves is a good bar. It's a good, clever wordplay. He put it in a song way before the beef. Then in the beef, he thinks it's an insult. It's an insult to Kendrick Lamar that Kendrick Lamar wants to free his people. Notice his people, which therefore makes it very clear that Drake is not what he's been masquerading as. He is not authentically black. He is not part of this culture. He is a culture vulture from outside. Now, similarly, the MK, ANC, EFF story is, the EFF is true to tradition, the first decolonizers of the continent, the first decolonizers on the continent in terms of your Thomas Sankara generation, your Nyerere generation, those people who saw a united Africa as being the only answer to colonization. Because they were dealing with the crisis of the Berlin Conference. The Berlin Conference cut us into little pieces and created a continent-wide apartheid. They created division among us. And that division leads to us having these different passports, different nationalities, different identities, different languages. And then they pit these different identities, different languages, and different passports against each other. And they've successfully done that for over 200 years maybe. Because the Berlin Conference was in 1880 something, so it's been 140 years, roughly, since then. And we're still suffering those consequences. So our first decolonizers saw immediately what you need to do, which is unite Africa, unite Africans. If we become a bloc that is indivisible, unseparatable, loyal, loving to each other, we then have power. However, the white people who colonized us knew they can't do that unless they create this division within us. So the whole continent has suffered apartheid if you think about it. These borders are apartheid if you think about it. And the EFF understands that, Thomas Sankara understood that, Julius understood that, the founding fathers, the people that freed Ghana in that period of time, they understood this. Patrice Lumumba understood this. And they understood why these people did this. Why did they divide us? They divided us so they can have access to our resources, so that the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing, so that the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. And if that happens, they can steal from you with your eyes open. Daylight robbery became the norm. In fact, daylight robbery is what all these African economies are. We're not measuring it, but it's real. It's happening. Illicit financial flows have now confirmed what has always been happening. And the AU, well, the real AU, not the fake AU, because there was a real AU that spoke to let us consolidate our power and come together. And those leaders were killed and replaced with puppets, who then said, no, let me keep my little chieftain ship over here. So they allowed the whole continent to be divided into these Bantustans and to keep the Bantustans even after they were given quote-unquote freedom. So that freedom wasn't really free.
At what point does a leader take some responsibility? But some might say it's not his fault. It's the lower structures. It's not his fault. He couldn't have foreseen former President Jacob Zuma going rogue and starting and endorsing a party, but moving from endorsing a party to becoming its leader. So a lot has happened since the 16th of December 2023. And do you know why the 16th of December 2023 is exciting? It's because 15 years before that, on the 15th of December 2008, the Congress of the People was launched as a breakaway of the ANC. Of course, 16th December is significant for MK Party because that's the day the military wing of the ANC was actually launched in 1961. Now, these events of 15-year episodes, what is consistent? The Congress of the People broke away from the ANC because those leaders were feeling they are being purged by the new leadership of President Jacob Zuma at the time. Former President Thabo Mbeki was recalled as the president, and guess what? The same former President Jacob Zuma who said the ANC will be in power until Jesus comes, he now is bringing Jesus back, it seems, in this election. That's quite fascinating, that the story of the demise of the ANC is being written literally on the back of the actions of former President Jacob Zuma. That is not a plot twist because it is not fiction, it's actually reality. And that tells us we need to probably understand and dig deep in terms of what does this election really mean for South Africa? What does it really mean for our political landscape? And some people know I have been saying on my Twitter a lot, my ex now, to the future. And I think that future has arrived because that future I've been talking about has been an attempt to say South Africa's political landscape is going to be shaped and reshaped in dramatic ways in this 2024.
Pause. Like, think about that. That Jacob was so loyal to the cause, he didn't see the cause having an end. And so, they pushed him out, started to destroy this thing that he thought would never be destroyed or was not destroyable. And they did this so much that he is now participating in the destruction. He's participating in the destruction because now he sees that the ANC is not the ANC that he understood. That stands for truth, that stands for the people. And that's why he's taking it down. So now, Jesus has come for the ANC. Jesus has come to show the ANC their arrogance. Jesus has come to remind them the truth of what they were supposed to be standing for, what they were supposed to be doing, what they were supposed to be achieving. Not achieving for themselves, but for the people as a whole.
Landscape is going to be shaped and reshaped in dramatic ways in this 2024 election. Did I know that it would be MK Party? No idea, but I had a feeling many years ago, at least 6 years ago, that we needed to start talking about South Africa beyond the ANC. And guess what? The first time I had that conversation in public was exactly on this channel with my good friend, Dr. Sizwe Mpofu Walsh, and we were dissecting, are South Africans ready for a life without the ANC, or an ANC that is not the majority party? This is the moment of reckoning, and I think nobody should really be nervous at this point in time. But there must be an appeal to the politicians that in this election, the voters have spoken. Now, the politicians must be responsible enough to center the interests of the voters. They must be responsible enough to negotiate in good faith, to negotiate lasting coalition agreements, to negotiate coalition agreements that are about, championing the rule of law, championing peace and stability, championing development and transformation, particularly of the levers of the economy and other constraining issues that have given us this dire unemployment, this collapse in infrastructure, this corruption that we deal with in this country, and many more other things. So this election is momentous.
The key here is that when I say SNWX is the CNN, my personal CNN, is because they are people who see what's happening around them. They are people who see what's going to happen based on what's happening around them. SNWX is a place that inhabits the future. I genuinely believe this. I will champion it. It's an opinion I'm willing to die on. SNWX understands what is going to happen. Cyril Walsh wrote a book called Democracy and Delusion. Cyril Walsh wrote a book called The New Apartheid, and he created this channel. These actions are these are actions of a future-oriented person. A person who's not looking at the moment, but looking at what the moment means for the future, and then choosing to respond to that. And this is why this channel resonates with me so much, is because it is starting to be this lightning rod for all the people that want to be directing the future. You heard in my previous video when Cyril was celebrating the fact that they got to 100,000 subscribers. They threw it out there, and it happened. They create their future. They create their future. And as they do that with confidence, this is now being documented on how to go about creating your future, sticking a claim in the ground, putting a stick in the sand, drawing a line in the sand, and then taking the necessary actions to get you there. Because literally, this channel has grown, and I won't say I was at day one, but I was at day one. And it's been fantastic to watch because the guests have kind of been orienting their minds not to talking about the past, not to coming up with excuses, but thinking about the future, thinking about the solutions, finding the real places where truth can be used to criticize in the most fair way possible. Because yes, there are many opportunities for us to throw stones. There are many opportunities for us to criticize. However, are we doing that directed towards corrective action? Or are we doing that because we want to be like, oh, look at me, I can see the future. Oh, look at me, I'm so smart. Oh, look at me, I'm a genius. No, it's not about that. It's about leading to positive change for the collective. That is why this channel for me is excuse for that plug, but let's carry on. Lukona's analysis, and even back then, as I was watching it, I kind of already felt the exact same way, because I, years ago, before the formation of the EFF, I had already said that the ANC is going to need to renew itself through a process of re-engaging with the community. I had said in conversations I was having in a private space, so I can't prove this. But I had spoken about the fact that if ANC had really meant it when they said this is the year of the branch, because there was a year of the branch, I'll Google when it was, but ANC had a theme where they said the year of the branch. So they understood that if they go back to the ground and they work the ground properly, then the ANC wouldn't be going through what it's going through right now. But that year of the branch did not lead to any positive change. It was rhetoric, it was political promises, it was nonsense, bubblegum music from Drake, saying what people want to hear without leading to